Welcome to Bard's Gaming Corner. This is my review of Football Manager 2022. I had some doubts if I should create this video. This channel is mostly focused on RPGs and strategy games. And for those of you who have never heard about the Football Manager series, it is a manager simulation game about football. But then I thought Football Manager has both strategy and RPG elements. You try to build and improve a club, manage the money, build a winning tactic. And you try to get the best from your players as well, who have attributes and statistics very much akin to attributes in D&D. Well, with some fantasy. So in that regard, Football Manager is the perfect game to talk about on this channel. And no, I won't put out videos on FIFA, Forza or Call of Duty. While I occasionally play games like that, there are already plenty of other YouTube channels and outlets where you can find interesting content. Anywho, let's get started with this review of Football Manager 2022. First, some information beforehand. In most of my reviews I will give some general info, get into the story, then graphics and sound. But Football Manager has always been primarily about gameplay, so most of this review will be focused on that. Game info. Football Manager is one of the longest running game series in video game history. The story started with Championship Manager in the mid-90s. I first came across Championship Manager in 1991 when I went to college. And I thought, what the hell is this? A large collection of Excel sheets that simulate player stats? Almost no graphics apart from pictures of stadiums and the occasional football. Matches were simulated by short text messages describing what was happening. But after playing for a couple of hours I was hooked. After that I played almost every edition of Championship Manager and continued when due to licensing issues CM became FM, Football Manager. The premise of this Football Manager 2022 is basically the same as its predecessors. You can pick almost any known professional team in the world and manage and develop it the way you want. Do you want to have Bayern Munich stay the Bundesliga powerhouse it is now? Or be the pleasant surprise of the Champions League with Ajax, just as in the real world? Or put your shoulders behind Barcelona and work off the immense debt of more than 1 billion euros? Or pick a small semi-professional club in the lowest leagues of England and work smart and patiently to get your side all the way to the Premier League where the big money is. It is all possible in Football Manager. As a manager, you have to deal with almost every aspect in professional football. Picking a winning tactic, training your players in such a way they become better and better, and dealing with the press and annoying money-grubbing agents as well. There is no other football game out there where you have so many detailed options. At the same time, this also means this game garners to a niche audience, but a very large niche audience. For newbies, Football Manager can be quite tough to get into. All these options and details give the game a steep learning curve and make it seem a daunting challenge. Football Manager 2022 is no different in that regard. However, you do have a choice between keeping everything basic or choosing to micromanage as much as you want. In both cases, the game offers you a rich experience. For instance, with regards to training, you can decide for each player the individual training and what attributes need to be improved every week. Or you can relegate this to your trainers. So the game is actually less difficult to get into for a newbie. A criticism of Football Manager is that it's much like FIFA. Every game is basically like the version of last year. Now, I can understand where this comes from. The game engine and overall gameplay elements haven't changed that much compared to FM 2021. The user interface is almost exactly alike. So it may seem that if you buy this game, you buy an expensive DLC or database update. But I think that's a bit unfair. What developer Sports Interactive does quite well is offering a better and slightly improved version every year, while keeping what works intact. So, what has been improved? There are a couple of nifty changes for the better. For instance, with youth intake, the overall standing of the nation where your club is based is a big factor as well. Meaning that clubs in Germany will on average have better new youth players coming in each year than say clubs in Bulgaria. So if you can increase the overall standing and reputation of your nation in football, the youth intake will improve. Next to that you have the impressive data hub, an important hub of data, hence the name, collected by your trainers and analysts. Data on the success of your tactics, development of your players, your opponents and what have you. All this can be used to become even more successful, but again, it's not needed per se if all this seems too daunting for you. And there is a new player type, the wide center back, which is a new type of defender many FM veterans are raving about. I must admit I haven't been able to experiment with this new addition yet, mostly because it's not a feature in the tactics I have used up until now, but I will in future try it out. Some good news: if you have a Game Pass account, save games can be swapped between platforms, so you can play the same game on both PC and Xbox, which is a feature not many games have at the moment. Not all is well with this version. For the moment there is no touch option. Touch made the game easily accessible on iPads and tablets. Because of time constraints, Sports Interactive wasn't able to add this option yet. The exception being the Nintendo Switch. At the moment of recording there is no news when touch will become available. You can play FM 2020 on Android and iOS, but according to some users this is not the best way to play the game. There are some licensing issues with certain aspects of the game. The most famous example being Juventus, which is called Zebra, and the national teams of Germany, Holland and Japan can't use the actual players that are part in real life, while you can find and use those players at their respective club teams. You can work around this by using fake names when starting a new save. With regards to graphics and sound, I can keep it short. Graphics have been slightly improved. For example, during matches the individual players will have more details in their actions. But it still looks like a FIFA game from the late 90s to early 2000s. In all honesty, the quality of the graphics is not probably why you want to buy this game. You will have some in-game sounds, stadium background noises, the crowd cheering, referee whistling, but that's about it. Conclusion. Like every year, Sports Interactive has put out a solid game with extensive options and a few improvements. Like I said, there is no other manager game out there that has such a large database of clubs and players and offers so many options in-game. Now, this edition of Football Manager is by no means a very original game. The gameplay, graphics, the user interface, we've all seen it before. Which begs the question, is this game worth the price? Football Manager 2022 costs about €55, or the equivalent in dollars or pounds, which is not cheap. But overall, this is a very solid game, with a couple of improvements compared to early editions. And if you're an FM addict like me, the price won't matter anyhow, you will have bought it already. So for both the veterans and the newbies here, if you like strategy and if you like football, I can highly recommend playing Football Manager 2022. I give this game a score of 8 out of 10. Football Manager 2022 currently is available on Microsoft Windows, PC, Mac OS, Xbox One, Xbox Series X and S, iOS, Android and Nintendo Switch. Now, in all probability I won't put out any guides about this game, mostly because there are a lot of excellent content creators who can offer you a plethora of information on Football Manager, tactics, training, which players to buy at the start of the game, tutorials, etc. My personal favorites are Zealand, Omega Luke and FM Scouts. And let's not forget RDF. You can find links to their channels below in this description.